Hey everybody, it's the weekend after Thanksgiving and we are going to play with some of our Thanksgiving leftovers. And today we are going to make turkey and butternut squash dumplings. And it's going to be yummy and comforting, and let's do it. I have some leftover butternut squash from the last pizza that I made. I cut it up and put it in the freezer, and we are going to cook it. I'll pour it into a pan with some cold water. And some salt. Now we're going to put this on the stove and boil them up until they're nice and tender. And while our butternut squash cooks, we're going to prep our mirepoix vegetables. First comes our carrots. Cut off the ends. Got to cut into little pieces. Next comes our celery, and now comes our onion. First we slice it in this direction. Pack it back together, and now we're gonna go this way. Here we have the beginning of our turkey stew, our mirepoix, and as soon as our squash is done and draining, we're gonna start her up. I believe our butternut squash is done. We're gonna test it out. Poke it with a knife. Oh yeah, soft as heck. All right, we are gonna drain this now and set it aside. And this is not going into our stew, it is going into our dumplings. So we're gonna season it up, mash it up, and make those dumplings taste super yummy. Our squash is drained, and now we're gonna flavor it up with some butter. If I can get these apart. I like a lot. But y'all know that, I think. Some salt and pepper. A little bit of cinnamon. A pinch of nutmeg. Some brown sugar. That ought to be good. First thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna take our spoon and mix it together. Get that butter melting. And we're gonna take a potato masher and mash them up together. Then we're going to set it aside, and looking good. We're going to set it aside, and when we make our dumplings, we're going to add this to them. I have done this before, and it's very tasty. It's time for us to start our stew. We're going to do that with butter, and when this gets sizzly, we're going to put in the mirepoix and get going. Time for our mirepoix to go into our stock pot. Mix it up, stir it around a bit. Season it up with some salt and pepper. Thyme. That should be good. There are herbs in the stock. By the way, the stock that we're going to use, I made it myself from a turkey that I was gifted last Thanksgiving, and it's been in my freezer ever since. So I pulled it out and made the stock. Now we're going to let these cook down for a bit, and then we're going to continue on. While our vegetables are softening up, we are going to make our dumpling batter. The one I'm making takes 2 cups of Bisquick. I know we could bake it from scratch, but I'm kind of a lazy baker, so I always have used Bisquick for my dumplings, and people like them, and I like them. So 2 cups of Bisquick, 2/3 cup of milk, and we're going to stir this together. Coming together nicely. Our batter is made and smooth, and we're going to go start our stew, and then we're going to finish it up. Our vegetables are moderately soft. Now I'm going to add a little bit of minced garlic. I'm going to cook this down for about 1 more minute until it gets fragrant, and then we're going to we're going to make our roux. We're going to add some flour, make our roux, and add our homemade turkey stock. Nice and fragrant. Now it's time for a sprinkle of all-purpose flour. We're going to make this a little bit thick. Let's see how that goes. Coat our vegetables with that. I think we need a tad more. We got other stuff going in here, so we want to make sure there's enough sauce to make it a great stew. Our flour is well incorporated, and we're going to cook it down for just about a minute to get rid of some of that starchy, floury flavor. And then we're going to add our stock and I think our turkey too. Here's our turkey meat that came off the bones when I made the stock. And we're going to add that in. And I know that it's already cooked, but it's going to add some additional turkeyness to our stew. In it goes. I'm going to save a little bit for Miss Kelly. Here's our very rich and very flavorful turkey stock. And that is going in now. Let's see how that does. We'll see how thick it gets. It has to cook to the boiling point while we're stirring it constantly, and our roux will thicken it up, and then we'll adjust the texture if we need to. While we're stirring this and heating it up, it smells pretty good. And once we put our dumplings on, it's going to be really good. But we have to see how it turns out. It's time now to mix our butternut squash in with our dough. Don't think all this is going to fit, so let's try that much. Baking is like chemistry, so it has to make sure that everything is the right texture and there's enough stuff to make them puff and rise and cook and all that. So we may have to add a little more Bisquick to this mix, but we'll see how it comes out. I am going to do it. I'm going to add just a little more sprinkle of Bisquick to dry this out, because these are going to cook in boiling stew. Stir that in, and if it's too dry, we're going to have to add a little more milk, but let's see how it comes out. I think it's a pretty good consistency. This batter is going to get dropped on top of our boiling stew when it's done and when it's boiling. Looking good. We have reached the boiling point, and I'm going to test our carrots to see if they are soft yet. I bet they're not. Getting there. Our carrots are still a little bit firm, but when we add our dumplings, this has to cook for another 20 minutes. So that ought to work. because they're almost there, and 20 minutes on it. Get them right to the right place. So now our dumplings are going on. I reduced the heat to just below medium. We're gonna give it another quick stir. And here they come. So this is the last one. Goes uncovered for 10 minutes. Our dumplings are cooking up nicely. As you can see, they've expanded, but they're still a little raw in the middle. So now it's time to put the cover on and let them go for at least another 10 minutes. Maybe these scoops that I put in were too much, and we'll see if they're cooked in another 10 minutes. But give them a couple more seconds and then we'll put the cover on. Actually, let's put the cover on and let them go for another 10 minutes. The timer just went off and these dumplings are looking good, feeling fairly firm, and I think they're done. I'm gonna turn the heat off. Here's a close-up, looking yummy. We're gonna turn the heat off, and then we're gonna serve up our stew, our turkey stew with butternut squash dumplings. We got them off the stove and we're ready to serve them up. Looking good, smelling good. It's gonna be a nice, comforting meal. And this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna pick up a dumpling. Get in under and scoop out some stew into a bowl. I should have added something green to this. I was thinking about it, but I didn't. And now, the dumpling comes back on. Uh-oh, it's breaking up. Let's take this one. There we have our served turkey stew with butternut squash dumplings. Here's our close-up again, and I talked about green. And what I've decided to do is garnish this with just a little shake of freeze-dried chives. And there you have it. Now we're gonna take us a bite. Thank you for joining me while I played with my Thanksgiving leftovers. And this is what we made. Turkey stew with butternut squash dumplings. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you what the dumpling looks like. And now we're going to scoop up a little bit of the stew with the dumpling. Let's get it all in the spoon, nice and neatly. And there's what we look like. And now we're going in. So yummy. I haven't had chicken and dumplings in the longest time, and even though this isn't chicken, it's turkey, it tastes so familiar and so yummy, and I can't wait to eat the rest of it. And we'll see you again soon. Hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving.